to At the Glass podcast. I'm your host, Mark. I have a guest speaker today. George the Greek is here with me. We're going to discuss the MLB regular season as a wrap up today and then dive into the playoff with the 12 teams that have made it, primarily focusing on his Yankees, who have managed to secure the number one overall spot for the AL, and then my Astros coming in the number 3 spot, winning the West for the 4th straight year. Before we dive into that, as I said, this podcast, we dive in a little bit before what we're going to talk about, what beverages we are drinking. I'm going to start off with a light lager called Scout from True Anomaly Brewery here in Houston, founded by 4 former NASA employees, or they still could be, but they make some very delicious beer. It's just a traditional lager, not much to it, coming in at 4.7 alcohol by volume. A light sipper on a nice warm day. Goes down smoothly after mowing the lawn. And what you drinking over there, George the Greek?
Hey, Mark. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. And, hopefully first of many. As far as what I'm having a St. Arnold's Art Car IPA.
Delicious.
It is delicious. It's kind of light, but it still has a little kick to it. And with its alcohol volume, and believe me, it gets the job done.
Yes. And for those who know, St. Arnold's is another Houston brewery that's been around for many years, one of the first ones here in the Houston area, or the first one that was a craft brewery before all the others start popping up over the many years now. Both are excellent breweries. Both have great spaces to go drink some beer and hang out on a nice, beautiful day like today. So support your local brewery. And as always, we be sipping, and let's start cracking.
Hey, cheers.
All right. So MLB wraps up today, right, George? And every playoff spot is locked. There's no one fighting today to get in for the playoffs. So, as we were saying earlier, Yankees clinched the number 1 spot for the AL with the best record. What was the record by chance?
Off the top of my head, I wasn't quite sure. I want to say they finished with 93 wins.
Gotcha.
I believe maybe 94. A lot of parity.
Right.
There.
So not including today's game, if they haven't played yet, or we haven't checked, but they're at 93 wins, 68 losses. So they could finish with 94, 68, or 93, 69. Then the Cleveland Guardians, which is
Cleveland Indians.
yes,
to me.
there will always be the Indians, no doubt about that. They have the 2nd spot at 92 and 69. So whether they get the game in today, it's delayed right now due to rain with the Astros. So it does not have an outcome factor of if they win, they get the number 1 spot. I'm pretty sure
the Yankees clinched yesterday.
Right. Okay. So it doesn't matter the outcome for that either. Same with the Astros. If they win or lose, it doesn't change because the Astros won the West a couple days ago. So they clinched the number 3 spot. So those are your division winners. And then coming at the wild card spot is Baltimore, number 1 spot, Detroit, and Kansas City for the AL. And then NL, we have
Dodgers
clinched. They look like they have the best record overall, so they will be home field advantage, given that they can get out of the divisional round. But we'll circle back to playoffs here shortly. Phillies are in, winning the East for NL, and the Brewers are in, winning the Central Division. And for your wild card spot is the Padres have the first wild card spot, then the Braves, and then the Diamondbacks. So far, it looks like today actually could determine the last 2 spots for the NL, because looking at this, it says neither Atlanta or Arizona have officially clinched those last 2 spots yet.
Oh, that's going to make things.
It could make things interesting because the Mets are right there behind them. So depending on how today's games go, could alter that scenario for the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
But before we dive in, let's circle back to the regular MLB season. For me, being an Astros diehard fan, I always grew up watching them because I'm from Houston and grew up here watching them. Just it's been a remarkable run for them, how well they've been playing since new ownership took over from Jim Crane back in 2012. And just how they've been able to make the playoffs every year since 2017, I believe, because they made it in 2015, but didn't make it in 16. Then 17, they made the playoffs every year since then, which is
Right.
pretty remarkable. As you know, we watched them to start off the season when they opened up with the Yankees with the 4-game series, and the Yankees just said, "Hey, we're just going to whack you around this first series," and they absolutely did that. And the Astros looked like they weren't. They got off to a very rough start. So, Yankees came out hot. So,
Well, you got to give the Houston Astros a lot of credit because a lot of people will jump ship when things aren't going well, and uh, I kept sitting back as a neutral, but at the same time, obviously, I'm biased to the Yankees. I'm from New York. I'm from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and the Astros have been a thorn at our side. For the longest time since 2015 when Dallas Keuchel and the Astros went up to New York and beat us in a wild card matchup, and it just seems like ever since then, whenever we've locked up with your Houston Astros, we can't get past them in the playoffs. So, the way the year started is, I'm observing the Astros from a distance and seeing what's happening. It did look bad, and but I kept telling myself, like, their team has a great makeup, and I really felt that they were about a week or two away, probably from packing it in for a season, and to get that close, and then just make a furious comeback the way they have. They've won the division, and look, they got the pedigree, and they have the playoff experience, and it's definitely a team that, you're not going to want to face in October. So, kudos on the Astros doing what they did this year. It was pretty remarkable.
well, like you mentioned, like the roster the Astros had, there was no reason. It was essentially almost the same roster from last year, minus a few players here and there. But it just didn't seem like a team that should not have made the playoffs, like with the roster they still had for the season. So for them to come out slow, by slow, they were 10 games back of first place of the Mariners at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it looked really bleak, and you have the defending World Series champions and the Rangers in the same division, and you have the Seattle Mariners that they just keep seeming to knock on the door. They have a good young ball club, and they keep putting good players there, and they're just constantly knocking on the door. You start to think like, okay, everyone's getting better. But again, Astros held firm, and their comeback into the season and to get into the playoffs, they did it with veracity, and again, good on them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it just makes you wonder, could the Astros have won it last year? But again, props to the Rangers. They came out and played last season in the playoffs. They got hot. They did what they had to do. This year it just seemed like they look like they were trying to be in it from the beginning, and just injury bugs and just things did not seem to go their way. Same with Mariners. Came out firing. Julio Rodriguez is a phenomenal center fielder, young guy that's going to be fun to watch for years to come for them, especially he signed his big contract extension in the offseason last year.
Good for him.
Decent pitching staff. I know they're going to be looking for a new manager because they dismissed their manager 2 weeks ago, so they're going to be in the hunt for a new manager. As far as the Angels, I think this is their 9th season with the losing record in a row now. I think I saw something like that. And this was the most losses in their franchise history ever in a regular season.
You're kidding.
I just saw it yesterday or the day before that. This is the most losses that they've had in their franchise record. So, Ron Washington, he's a great guy. I'm not saying his fault, just injury bugs after injury bugs. You think this is going to be it. We have Trout, we have Anthony Rendon, we have these other solid players, and they just seem to always catch the injury bug early and just can never get over that hump with those star players. So we'll see what how they approach this offseason.
Mark, as far as the Angels go, if you go back the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, I guess, definitely the last 5, you have to feel bad for their fans because it's not a lack of ownership and up in the general manager's office about getting players there. And they always seem to put together a good, a good band of brothers, so to speak, and it just never pans out. They had Noah Syndergaard a couple years ago, like you said, they had Mike Trout, Rendon, but it just never seems to work out for them. They had Shohei for a long time.
They had Shohei. They had Trout.
Yeah, I mean,
Signing Rendon looked like that's a great hitting lineup right there. As far as feeling bad for, I feel bad for the fans, like you said. He's like, we have a good team that looks like could win, right?
yeah,
But I don't feel bad as an instance as I do for the Oakland fans who just lost their beloved Athletics, moving to Las Vegas now after the season. They're about to go up to Sacramento and
Sacramento, I think, for
a year or two, play at like a minor league stadium there of some kind that holds like maybe 8,000 people.
Yeah, I mean, but if you put it in perspective with the way the attendance has been in Oakland over the last few years, 8,000 might be selling it out. But I mean, look, the city of Oakland has done its fans a disservice. And what I mean by that is you look at the 3 franchises that they've had in Oakland with the Golden State Warriors, which, might be on the slide now of their dynasty, but let's make no mistake, they've been in the middle of a great dynasty. And you have a player like Steph Curry, and then you have the brand of the Raiders, where maybe they're not quite where they used to be back in the day, but look, hey, just win, baby, and it is the Oakland Raiders. And then you have a brand like the Oakland Athletics where, people seem to forget the Athletics have trophies in their trophy cases.
Yeah, they've won World Series.
They do. Yeah, the Bash brothers, Ricky Henderson, Dennis Eckersley, they have tradition with the Athletics. So, the fact that the city basically has let go of all 3 of their franchises, I mean, I feel really bad for the fans of Oakland. And the one that probably stings the most is probably the Warriors because, they're still in a position that they can compete maybe for titles, but they just went across the bridge.
Right. And they were never called Oakland Warriors. They were called the Golden State just because of being right there next Oakland and San Francisco. So them to go back across the bay to San Francisco, yeah, probably stings a little bit on the Oakland side, but I don't think the fans are nearly as hurt by that as when the team is called Oakland Athletics, Oakland Raiders. Like they physically are moving away where the Warriors just went across the bay into San Francisco downtown with the state-of-the-art new arena.
Yeah.
So it's.
And the hardcores, they're going to make their way across the bridge, and they're going to keep watching them and be a fan of them.
In that aspect, so I don't feel bad that way for them, but just in general, as a fan, like your team that you grew up watching is physically leaving the entire city to another state.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, Mark. All 3 of your sports franchises in your city, they're gone now.
Yeah,
and
no, I get that. It's a tough
that's
one.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
Absolutely.
And it happened all within the last 5 years.
Absolutely, in the Bay Area or leaving town altogether. But going back just to the season in general, Oakland had an Oakland season. I mean, the owners, as we know, is a businessman, doesn't care to invest into the team to make them better by any means. And
what do they play over there? Moneyball.
Moneyball, which is a great. I mean, that's what a lot of the teams do nowadays. They took the concept what Billy Beane did. He's like, we're going to base everything off stats and as a player can do. But now, as the point is, well, everyone does it. We just can spend the money to get the players that fit the statistical category now. And Oakland just doesn't want to spend money at the time. But now that they're moving to Vegas, I don't know if the change was kind of like Miami, the Marlins, Florida Marlins, where Miami now. They played in where the Dolphins played, and they finally got their own stadium. Like, oh, we have money now. Spent tons of money, didn't work. They sold everyone off, and they haven't done anything since. So,
Well, the Florida Marlins / Miami Marlins, whatever you want to call them. I mean, to their credit, though, they would build good teams, basically sell out. What did they end up getting? 2 rings, I think.
they did. I mean, they won in 03 and 07, I believe.
Yeah.
Or 99.
Yeah.
No, excuse me, 97 and 03. Excuse me. Yes, and it's kind of like Tampa in a way, too. They can build up the farm system, but when it comes time to actually pay the player, they don't want to do that, and so they'll trade them to get prospects in return. So,
I mean, they won their chips, and then they
I give them credit.
went back to that.
But surprisingly, they didn't finish last in the division. Like I said, Houston won the West. Seattle, the Rangers, Oakland came in with the 69 and 92 win-loss, and then the Angels with 63-98 losses.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's tough. I get it for them.
Tough sledding in
Yeah.
Oakland. Hey, guys, we feel sorry for y'all. Oakland fans.
I wish the fan base all the best, and I hope y'all will support. If you support the Athletics just because that was your team and not the owner, awesome. Go for it. Find a new team. I know you got the Giants, which I don't know if that's a hard one to swallow to become a Giants fan if you are.
I don't think Oakland fans are going to become Giants fans.
Probably
I'm
not.
going out on a limb here, but
So, with that, like I said, that wraps up the American League West Division. Like I said, Houston coming back from being 10 games back, roughly middle of May or so into May, and they started making the transition, playing good ball, and having one of the best records throughout MLB from then on out to win the West.
Sure.
We'll move to the Central real quick. Cleveland.
Hey, how about the Central, huh?
That was more of a I won't say shock to me, but surprise, I guess, of how well. Honestly, I thought Minnesota was going to win the division to start the season. It was my thought.
Well, when it comes to the AL Central, that's a tough one for me. A lot of those teams, whether it's the Guardians / Indians, it's always going to be Indians to me in my heart. Chief Wahoo, movie Major League,
Great movie, awesome.
Then you have the Minnesota Twins, and then the Tigers. And look, little fun fact here. The Tigers have the Astros ex-head coach.
I know.
And he's the real deal, Holyfield.
I love Hinch, and I know what happened after the 2017 season of the whole cheating scandal and all that stuff. And I know Jim Crane had to do what he had to do. I get it. It stings. And Hinch wanted no part of how all that went out, but he should have done more. As he said, I should have just done more, which.
Well, Mark, please don't let me forget this. We're going to double back on him as a head coach here in a little bit. Because I did have some interesting thoughts on his future, but with the run that they just made, and now they're in the playoffs, and in the city of Detroit, you got look at what their football team has done, and now their baseball team, and they do have a tradition-rich history in basketball.
Pistons, and then the Red Wings for hockey.
Oh yeah, I apologize, Detroit. I forgot about hockey. You know what I mean? Yeah. Detroit's in a good spot right now.
Absolutely. Because Hinch came in 4 years ago, took over the manager role. Growing pains, just got to rebuild, get the players in, and they got hot this last month of the regular season and went on a tear to get in as a wild card spot. And kudos to them for playing awesome ball to get in. Ended up finishing second, like I said, in the division, 6 games back behind Cleveland winning it, and then Kansas City, who has the other wild card spot, Royals, which they're tough. They play some gritty ball. They have a young core, Witt Jr., was going to be in. Well, if Aaron Judge didn't have the season he did, there's no doubt that Bobby Witt Jr. would have one would win the MVP for the AL this year. But
Yeah. I mean, solid player.
just because he led the AL or all MLB in batting average of 300 or 332 for his batting average.
Is that what he finished
Yeah.
at? Well, hey, there is today.
Oh, yeah, but I don't.
Unless they're giving him a rest day, knowing
But
it's coming.
then it's Vlad Guerrero Jr. with 324. I don't see him dropping 8 points to.
Well, I'm a homer. I got to ask, what did Aaron Judge finish
He's at-
I think he was at 322, 320.
Batting average 322 and home runs 58, and then he's leading RBIs with 144. So there's no doubt that Aaron Judge is going to win MVP again this year, hands down. Like that's front runner. Like I said, with Junior, phenomenal young star there in Kansas City. He's going to be has been fun to watch and will be continued fun to watch him play there with the Royals.
Sure. Yeah.
As long as they aren't one of those one-hit wonders where like we're good for 2 years and then just fall off again. Like I hate when that happens.
And you see great baseball coming out of the Central, but for the average fan or for most fans out there, you look at the Central, when you look at the Kansas City Royals, you look at the Detroit Tigers, and you look at the Cleveland Indians. And, sorry, Guardians, I call them the Indians. It's just one of those things that you hope it progresses into the playoffs, but they've had a history of they can put together great regular seasons and great stories, but they're usually a division round and out type situation, So, maybe that stops this year. It ends this year, but again, you cannot take away from a great regular season, which is very long and
162
grinding.
games.
Yeah,
That's a long season.
And look at the Tigers; they could have packed it in, and they didn't. They decided, to do what they did in the movie Major League, just go on a tear at the end and just get in. So yeah, the Central, it's definitely in good hands.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
And then the Twins, they were in a walkout spot. They collapsed with Detroit making that run like they did and missed out. And then they're just laughable. And I feel bad for the players, I guess. I don't – it's such a – and to go back, like you said, or I was saying about Bobby Wood Jr. Royals, like hopefully this is a continue for them to be good for the several years. Because look at the White Sox. They were in the playoffs 3 years ago, right? They look promising.
Yeah.
Like this is a young core group of guys. They're going to be around for a while, and they have broke the record. Not a record to have by all means, but to have the most losses in a regular season of MLB with 121 losses.
Yeah, and they did it in a city that you don't want to do that in, because when you have the guys up on the north side, which let's just call it what it is, most of Chicago, they love their Cubs.
They do.
And I've been to Wrigleyville and I've been to
Great ballpark, by the way, people. Go visit.
Amazing ballpark. I've done the tour over there. I can't say enough great things. And deceiving. It's actually a big park. It's deceivingly small on TV, but when you go through it and the capacity it could hold, it's very shocking. So, kind of like the same comparison when you're an LA team, you really can't fall behind. And in Chicago, they are definitely Cubs fans, and they are Bears fans, and they are Chicago Bulls fans. So, and Blackhawk fans, so you don't want to be that team kind of like last dog to the trough, so to speak, last dog to the bowl,
There's always going to be rebuilding years for any major league, but to be that bad is just never good.
Yeah. I hope a strong rebound for the Southsiders next year, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna move to the AL East, where
I like that.
I wonder why. That was a fun one to follow most of the season because obviously Yankees, we knew what they were capable of doing this coming into the season. And then Baltimore being a young team and making the playoffs last year. So seeing them and the Yankees just battle out the whole season for the divisional lead, and then Yankees pulling away. Well, with the last month to go, and Baltimore kind of faltering and end up finishing second, clinching the number one wild card spot. So the Yankees won the AL East division. Like I said, they 93 and 68, depending outcome 94-68 or 93-69, either way. With that, they have a hitting wise, obviously, with Judge going to win MVP, leading the way with 58 bombs. And then,
but Juan Soto's been such a game changer.
Juan Soto, 19-year-old Juan Soto. That's all we heard in the 2019 World Series with the National. Juan Soto, 19-year-old. But
he's 19, he's 26, he's 36. Who knows? Well, we don't know.
But acquiring Juan Soto in the offseason, awesome a player to get, like, hands down. I mean, especially for his bat and being a short right field for him, being a lefty. So benefits there. He also is just a good hitter all the way around. So getting him to help balance out with Judge because of when the Yankees got Stanton 6 years ago, whatever it was, it's like, oh, well, he did great in Miami. And then once he got there, he had, one or two good seasons, but it's kind of been injury prone.
Well, he always has an injury bug. And this is probably unfair of me to say, but he always has something. Whether it's his calf or his this or his that. But again, you got to give Brian Cashman the credit because at that time he was the MVP and he was the best available player at the time, and they went and got him.
Well, as I've always looked at things, if there's a player out there young like Juan Soto or close to being free agent, 28, 29, and you're looking at it, that's a piece that we're missing desperately in our lineup. Do we have the prospects to go get it? That player.
Yeah.
And I view that prospects are prospects. some are just going to be, that guy is going to be a stud. Like, we're not trading him. But over time, prospects there's no guarantee they're going to pan out.
Sure.
I mean, over time, like, oh, that one kind of stung, but you didn't know at the time. But that's why you take gambles. I mean, I'm working on a thing on the side to do a recording of all the Astros trades from 10 years ago up until now, like which ones worked out in Astros' favor, which ones stung. Like, they should have done that. Like, looking now how things worked out. But the Yankees going to get Soto to help that lineup. And then I know pitching-wise, Cole started on the injured list with a shoulder or elbow soreness. Yeah, elbow. So he was out for the first 2 or so months.
Yeah.
Come back to pitching. Going back to batting. Just to get Yankees. I mean, I know we still have the last day today, baseball, but based off right now, just looking at current stats, the Yankees led the league in home runs as a team with 236.
Beautiful.
And then Baltimore, Dodgers, Braves.
What did they say? Chicks dig the long ball.
Yeah. However,
All right.
Astros were number 2 in the league for batting average at 262 as a team batting average. And
what was the Yankees' overall batting average?
And then the Padres were in first with 264. Yankees finished 9th with a 248 team batting average. So,
Rube to be worked on there.
Yes. All right. So going pitching wise, like I said, Cole was out 2 months or so, came back kind of up and down. But I mean, you got to get in rhythm. You didn't have a full spring training to get going and doing all that stuff.
Here's what I could say, Mark, about the Yankees. And again, I'm a homer. So, but because I'm a homer and the standard that we hold, what we call the New York Yankees, the standard, the mecca of baseball, we hold them to a high standard. And the reality is this.
You'll have 27
world championships. What is it? 60, 65 AL pennants.
Which,
I mean,
they've been around for, which is phenomenal. But their last World Series was 2000. It was when the first year in the new Yankee Stadium.
we had a Chris in the stadium, but we got to christen it again. But the thing about the Yankees this year, Brian Cashman is a great GM, and people forget about that. And look, the reality is this: Hal, the son, is not like the boss. The boss, he did whatever it took to bring a championship level team to the city of New York. He did not care. He didn't care what he had to do with the checkbook. The son is a little different, and surprisingly, we've kind of modeled a little bit of what we do off of your Houston Astros model, to where we kind of, we draft well and we develop players in the minors. I mean, look at one of our catchers, Austin Wells, hell of a guy, great catcher, lefty bat. As far as this year goes, yes, it's great validation in terms of, Aaron Boone was on the hot seat, and make no mistake, he probably still is. I mean, I think at this point where he is in his career as a Yankee coach is he has to probably get to the World Series, if I had to guess, if not maybe win the World Series, um, and you look at our lineup. Last year, it looked like we had a bunch of righties. Now we do have a healthy lineup of righty-lefty. Our pitching staff, I still don't think it's completely solidified, but it's a solid staff. We ended up bringing enough arms in that we were able to plug and try different things. A few weeks ago, I heard that Nestor Cortez was going to the bullpen, and then he wasn't. And then he starts a week later and has a great outing, and now he's great. And then I heard Marcus Stroman was going to the bullpen.
Go back to Nestor real quick. What were the? I didn't see the results of his elbow soreness.
I didn't either, okay. Mark. I heard about it earlier this week. I really haven't followed up on it. But the reportings, or the initial reportings, were he might not even be back this year. So that's going to be a blow. But we did get pitchers back from the injured list. And we have Cole. And through the first half of the season, we had a great closer, and then he, started giving things up, and it got a little sloppy there, and then it became kind of closer by association, but I think he's kind of put it together. So going into the playoffs is going to be, really interesting. But again, the standard in the city of New York, is a championship, is a World Series, and we do have an uphill battle going into these playoffs because, yes, we have Aaron Judge and we have Juan Soto and great players have come up this year. Anthony Volpe, I mean, my gosh, he's little Derek Jeter with the way he plays. I wish his batting average was a little bit up. For a while, he had it up close to about 300, but, he leveled off a little bit, but plays great defense. I think he won a Gold Glove last year. Might win another one this year.
Yeah.
Gleyber Torres is coming around. But I love the addition of Chisholm. At the trade deadline, that guy has athleticism. He's fun. He's fast, and I think he brought a new energy to the team.
No doubt. Is he back from the injured list? I haven't.
I think he is. Okay. You might need to fact check me on that.
I was just curious.
But I mean, if we have him playing third, I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, getting him was a great addition at the trade deadline, no doubt. And then we'll. As we'll talk more with the roster here when we get into the playoff section. We'll finish wrapping up. We're almost there. Like I said, we'll finish up wrapping up. Like I said, Baltimore coming in second. They faltered the last several weeks of the season to finish second in division. They're a fun team to watch, especially with their batting lineup. That's a young core guys there up and down.
Well, Mark, if I can cut in just quick second. In terms of when we were just talking about the Yankees, heading into this playoff, Uh, that is one of the things I wanted to mention is just how great Baltimore really was. So I kind of felt that the Yanks have been almost in a playoff like scenario for the last month,
Yeah.
so to speak. Because we were up a game or we were up 2 games, and then not even a week goes by, and all of a sudden Baltimore's up game and a half. So it was a constant battle, and it just kind of seems like the last 2 weeks it kind of shook out. Thank God, for me in our favor. But make no mistake, Baltimore is the real deal, Holyfield, and whoever's got to play them, hey,
Well,
good luck.
yeah. Well,
you know.
my quick, snippet with the Orioles is fun fact on them is their GM is who I hope, and I love Dana Brown, who the Astros just hired this past offseason or last offseason. But like I said, with Dana Brown coming in, the Baltimore Orioles GM was a prodigy under Astros former GM, not James Click, but James Lundhow, or it's not James Lundhow, just kidding, Jeff Lundhow. And with Lundhow, he had a good, solid, people underneath him that he obviously probably trained and showed him what to look for. And Baltimore hiring his second-hand man away several years ago before the whole cheating scandal took place was a stab, just knowing. But and I'm happy for Baltimore. He's done a phenomenal job being the GM there. He will continue to build that team. One of the key things I was mentioning for them, like great hitting lineup. However, their pitching, they went and traded for Barnes, I believe, from the Brewers during the offseason to help out their starting staff. But overall, I feel like they're still missing a couple pieces there for the pitching wise. I know they just released Craig Kimbrell last week, officially let him go after he was with them all season as their closer, but I think he was struggling the last month of the season. So they designated DFA'd him. So we'll see. But yeah, Baltimore, great season overall. They're going to be a fun team to keep watching, especially in the playoffs. Like I said, they shocked everyone last year making it, and then they lost to the Rangers in the wild card round. So, but we'll get back to them.
And there hasn't been a lot of fun to celebrate in Baltimore really since the Cal Ripken Jr. years. I mean, they've had a few here
But
and there,
it's the same
but
thing.
I mean,
Several years ago, when they were when Buck Showalter was their manager, they were good when they had Chris Davis when he mashed for like those 3 seasons, and then he fell off the face of the earth because he forgot how to hit. But
sure.
the same thing, they're like, oh, this team's going to be good like for a while, and then it's kind of like they had their short little run, and then that was it. So
Yeah, losing Machado didn't help either.
yeah, well, they traded him. That was the beginning of their down. Like, all right, we peaked with what we had. I guess we're starting to fall down. Let's trade what we can because we know we're not going to re-sign him. Let's get players in return. So they shipped him off to the Dodgers, and then that was that. So
Yeah.
then finishing third in the East is
Well, they didn't get in.
well, the rest of the teams in the East didn't get in, but you have Tampa Bay Rays who.
Oh, they got it in front of Boston, huh?
Well, right now they have the same record. So today will determine.
I think they're playing today.
Are they playing each other?
Maybe so. I think so. I thought I saw it on the TV.
By the way, right now both of them are tied with the same record. If they are playing each other, then
Hey, go Tampa.
yeah, for your sake, yes.
How about that, huh?
So they are playing each other actually, and Red Sox are up 3-1. If that holds, then Boston will finish third in division, and the Rays will finish fourth. Tampa is one of those like we were talking about earlier. They build up their farm system. They always have guys that are good, and then when it comes time to pay, they don't have the money to do it or don't want to spend it. They're one of the teams where I know they had a not high expectation, but a team that was highly favored to make the playoffs again. Didn't happen. Injuries, just how baseball goes, being 162 games. So
Yeah, it sure does. It's a
it
grind.
is a grind. Boston, same thing. Expect to make playoffs potentially. Just they're a great team. They have Devers, who's an awesome player to watch. Who, they traded Chris Sale away to Atlanta.
Yeah, he's dealing
he's
over.
deal-
He's down
yeah,
there in the
so-
South. I mean, he is.
So same thing in Boston. They hired Alex Cora, who was with the Astros. They won the World Series his first year there, but kind of same thing. It's kind of because they were using some kind of cheating system, which I know every team does, but to win the World Series his first year there was just kind of, it is what it is that. But the one team in the East that did shock me, that didn't perform well all season, was the Blue Jays.
Toronto Blue Jays, yeah. You looked at what their young band of brothers going into the year. You really felt
Vlad
like
Jr., who obviously he's having a good year. Bo Bichetti, I think he was up and down being injured.
Beige started with them, didn't he? Biggio.
Well, he wasn't a main player. He was just a utility bench guy coming off. He started a couple games here and there. He never was. He had his run of being a starter a couple years ago when he came up with like Vlad and Bo Bichetti 2 years ago.
Okay,
but
yeah.
he never just it.
Great pedigree.
Yeah, he's a good player. Fortunately, he didn't produce enough to keep a spot essentially.
Sure.
For him, unfortunately. So.
They still have George.
They do have George for another year or two. He's getting older. Old for professional
Baseball. Sure. Yeah.
He didn't have a great. So he batted like 230 maybe. So yeah, it was not a.
Okay.
Like I said, as a standpoint for Toronto, a lot of the stuff people had the expectation of like that they could win the division. They could. They had a roster that could have won the division, at least make a playoff spot. It was just like I said, looking at the roster, it's like George, he's finishing with the 220 batting average this season, with 19 bombs. Varsho, their center fielder, a lot of new guys up and down, like I think just trade deadline and stuff. They moved. Bo Bichetti, he was hurt a lot this season. He only played 81 games. He batted 225. Just a lot of stuff that just didn't go their way early in the season, and they just kind of said, you know what, this isn't going to be our year, so we'll just do what we can and go from there. They did make a trade. They did get a couple players from the Astros. The Astros traded for Cucci, who's been great for the Astros since the trade. The players they gave up was Will Wagner. If you don't know, that's Billy Wagner's son. So he's done pretty solid for them, but he was going to be blocked for the Astros for a position without.
Great pedigree over there too.
Like I said, he was pretty much blocked. He had nowhere to go. He could been a utility guy off the bench, but he's not a utility guy. He is an everyday starter for a team or for the next couple of years. They were kind of disappointment. A team that has a young core just kind of laid a goose egg this year. So
sure, yeah.
With that, then we'll go to the NL real quick.
NL is a very interesting situation.
Oh, absolutely. So for the NL, we'll start out on the West Coast. Dodgers
is the obvious.
Yeah, they won it, the West Division, with the 97-64 record.
The best record in baseball.
Yep, they have the best record in baseball. So if they make it to the World Series, they get the home field advantage. But we'll tackle them because they always seem to falter in the playoffs.
I have a few interesting points on that here in a little bit.
So the Dodgers are in. The Padres are in as the number one wild card spot. I was just reading real quick. So Arizona is not technically out yet of a wild card spot. Some stuff has to happen.
We'll see what happens in the next few hours or throughout this evening.
Well, that's what I was reading. Not technically. They're playing a doubleheader tomorrow. The Braves and the Mets are.
Is that
Yeah, I
right?
guess some rainouts happened throughout the year or something like that. So,
That's a big deal.
yeah, so
Braves and Mets. Doesn't the playoffs start Tuesday?
yeah, or at least the AL does. They might start Wednesday depending on that. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it
Okay.
says
So that's something to keep an eye on.
absolutely. This says Mets and Braves have played 2 fewer games than the Diamondbacks, and there's still a chance they won't actually have to play a doubleheader on Monday. Okay, so depending on what the Diamondbacks happen, I think today, like I said, all right. Uh, let's see.
So they're in a position to control their
So
destiny.
here's how the single Sunday scenario would impact NL wildcard picture. Braves win, Mets win, Diamondbacks win. So if all 3 of those teams win, the Braves would clinch a postseason berth, while the Mets and Diamondbacks would both stay alive entering Monday. New York would simply need to go 1-1 on Monday in the doubleheader with the Braves to clinch the scenario, which might make the second game unnecessary unless the 2 teams decide to play for seeding.
So the Mets are in a good situation in a way.
Yeah,
If they could win today, right?
if they
If I did I hear that correctly?
so it's like I said, Braves win today, they're in automatically.
Okay.
The Mets need to win to stay alive today, and if they at least split, if they win the first game tomorrow, they clinch.
They're in.
But that's what I'm saying. If they don't want to,
Oh, but they're playing the Braves.
they would play the Braves. So.
Oh, so they're playing the Braves potentially 3 games in
Yes.
2 days. So the Braves are in the better
Yes.
spot. Sorry.
Braves win, Mets win, Diamondbacks lose. The Braves and Mets would both clinch a postseason berth, while the Diamondbacks would be eliminated. The doubleheader may not be played, but they're saying they could play it to determine the 2 and 3 seeding for the wild card. Neither would get a home game at home for the wild card because the whole series is played at the better team's record.
Yeah, you would think they would maybe just take the better record or the head-to-head or something.
Right,
you know,
determine
just-
a run differential, whatever they want to do, versus make them play that, determine the seed. Because all it'd be was 2-3, so it would just be who plays the Brewers and then who plays the Padres.
But on the flip side of that coin, if I'm the team awaiting them, I would actually want them to play it out because what's fair is fair. Hey, we had to play 162 games, so should you. You know,
That
so,
yes,
and then that does give them a little bit of an advantage in terms of the other team's probably a little more fatigued at this point. But make no mistake, at this point, all the teams are fatigued. They're all tired. You know, they all have nagging injuries. Like you know. No one's 100.
Oh, there's no team 100%
Helping.
going to the playoffs. There's no way that's. So like, Arizona's still in it. Then San Francisco finishing 4th with, and then the Rockies. You know, they kind of just there.
It's the Rockies.
So.
Hey, there's great weather in Colorado.
But that John Denver's full of shit. Going to the Central, Brewers clinched that up a while ago.
Hey, yeah, but hey, look out for the Brew Crew.
Yeah,
You know, Craig Counsell leaves,
that's true.
and you know, I don't know. Maybe you're thinking that they might take a step backwards or not, and I think Chris Yelich is out.
Yeah,
rest of the year.
yeah, he had to get a.
But they're plugging away. You know, and let me tell you, a lot of people think that some of these Midwest states or cities are like flyover cities. You know, I've been to a game at Miller's Park. It's amazing over there, and the fans are just great. And look, they have a lot to be proud of with the Brewers. And you know, again, that's going to be another team that you don't want to play in the playoffs, but based off of history. It's also one of those teams that you're like, but you know, it's the Brewers, you know. So we'll see what happens there. You know, they would love to get a championship in Wisconsin. You know, I mean, it seems like the Packers are the only team that have brought championships, you know, to the state of Wisconsin. So I know the Brewers. Whoa, what's going on?
You forget the Bucks.
Oh,
They
hey,
won 2 years
hey.
ago. I mean, for the basketball fans, I'm just not a basketball fan myself. If the Rockets do just real quick, my 2 spiel rant on basketball. Great for the people that love it. I'm not knocking you. It's just not my sport. I never watched it growing up. Yeah, I was a kid when the Rockets won at 94, 95, but that's because MJ didn't play because he went to go play baseball.
For the Southsiders.
But the conspiracy is he got popped for betting legally, and so for them not to say, "Hey, you're banned from NBA. Why don't you go play baseball for 2 years and then come back?" That's the conspiracy with that. And the Rockets, I'm happy they won it. And nowadays with Rockets, if they win, great. I'm happy for them. It's,
Well, if we're gonna piggyback, I'm gonna piggyback off of that. Yeah, if we're gonna go back to the '90s, the Rockets were a great matchup against the Bulls, and it would have been great to see that because of the '84 draft, how Hakeem was number 1 and Jordan was number 3. Yep. It would have been great to see them lock it up in a finals, but. Remember who your guest is, George the Greek. I know about the Milwaukee Bucks. I love Giannis. I think Giannis is the best basketball player on the planet. He's a humble guy.
Absolutely.
He loves the city of Milwaukee. He loves Wisconsin. And the Bucks are in a good situation. But, again, this is a baseball topic show today. And let me tell you, the fans in Milwaukee and in the state of Wisconsin, they're itching for a championship.
Absolutely.
So, best of luck to them.
If they win, I can only imagine the beer popping there. Brewers, with Milwaukee, and all that there, and then the cheese.
Mark, they do drink a lot over
I
there.
don't doubt that. What else is there to do there?
My time over there.
Not the knock there. I'm sure it's beautiful and all that stuff, but I mean, I'd probably be drinking more than what I normally would be.
But hey, look, great people over there.
Sure.
You'll love it.
I look forward to making up there sooner than later as I keep checking off all the MLB stadiums. So have knocked off quite a bit, but I've not been up.
Miller Park is an interesting park because when they open the roof, I don't know if it's structurally built this way, but actually the sides of the stadium open like curtains as well. So it feels like you're in a complete outdoor situation. Yeah. And with the weather that they get up there, depending on the time of the year you go, it's great up there. I enjoyed it,
Then, speaking of Craig Counsell leaving the Brewers to go be the Cubs manager, getting paid one of the highest manager contracts ever in MLB. Cubs came in second with the 83-78. I know they're still kind of rebuilding and players there. We'll see what they do this offseason. They have some potential to, I think, what's his face? Lefty from the Dodgers. Drawn blank, fortunately. It'll come to me. So they'll see what they do. Cody Bellinger, sorry.
That's right. Bellinger is there.
So he had a good year. His 1-year contract with them lasts
some of the fastest hands with the bat I've ever seen. My gosh.
He figured out how to hit again after he was called out by Carlos Correa at the time with the whole cheating thing. So he figured out how to hit again after all that. So yeah, I'm sure they'll do some off-season acquiring of some kind to get there, and I'm not sure what their farm system looks like, but I don't doubt I think it's.
And what I'm about to say is sacrilegious for all the Wisconsin and Milwaukee fans that I just spoke highly praises about Brewers baseball, but let me tell you, Wrigley Field is awesome.
It is.
That whole area, the vibe over there. You're not far from Lake Michigan. It's awesome over there. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I mean, just everything that goes on.
It is a phenomenal. It's for those that never been before. It's literally in the middle of a neighborhood. It's a cool ballpark.
Literally,
it's fun. Go sit. For those that like to drink some beer and have a good time and just enjoy, go sit in the bleachers and become friends with the people out there and just have a good time. You won't regret it. Cardinals, St. Louis coming in third. They weren't
traditional program over
but this
there
is the first year where it looked like the fans are just like, this is sad, because they are a baseball town. I've been to St. Louis a couple times, been to the ballpark several times, and
I've never been.
It's a cool ballpark. I didn't. This, their newest one. I didn't go.
19 World Series over in the town of St. Louis.
The stadium's great. set aside real quick. Being Bush and Budweiser. The whole set aside the politics on that. Having a Budweiser beer from the stadium there, Bush Stadium on draft, was the most crisp beer I've had on draft. I don't know why it was, but it was.
Beautiful,
It was delicious. But the team this year, they were hopes. I don't. I can't remember. I had to go back if they were favored to win the division or not, at least compete. But same thing. They have great ball guys, but they're aging. You have Nolan Arenado, great defenseman, can hit. He did solid over the season. Paul Goldschmidt didn't have the best season, but he did okay. I think just kind of pitching was up and down. But apparently their closer had the most saves all season with 49, which I just didn't realize he was or had that many saves. But good for him. We'll see what the Cardinals do this offseason if they look to trade away some of the guys to rebuild again, kind of refresh the team, get some prospects back in there to see. My team, I say my team, a team I like following is the Pittsburgh Pirates with Paul Skeens coming in, and so
that guy's a stud.
yeah. When I go talk about prospects, I know the problem. When there are certain guys who are going to be like they have the it factor, he was one of them. Like same with
He's got it, and he had it from day one. You didn't have to coach it. You didn't have to let him see how he does under the big lights and any of that. Like he came out and he was dealing. And look, he came from a great place, LSU, as we all know, college baseball powerhouse.
he did transfer there from Air Force.
Is that right? I did not know that. Okay.
He was at Air Force his first 2 years. So
He was at the Air Force Academy. Hey, you know what? Air Force,
you
bred a player,
And he said he goes, I can't take all the I'm fortunate for LSU, but he goes, if it wasn't for Air Force, I had to start somewhere. So he gives credit to Air Force for starting there.
And good on him for Big Hubble. That's why he's probably going to be okay as a professional with whatever money gets thrown his way as well. Because when you're at one of these academies, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to the academies, is these kids and these boys that they have to go, they have to do their PT. They have to really bust their butt. With everything that is required of them being at an academy like that, and then there's their academics, and then their sport is actually a far third. And for them to manage the load, again, West Point, Annapolis, Colorado Springs, Army, Navy, Air Force, love you guys. Thank you, and thank you for
Absolutely.
the service that you guys are about to give us.
We wouldn't be able to enjoy the things we do without their service day in, day out. Then Cincinnati coming in. Well, them and Pittsburgh will be second to last or last in division. I think Cincy was hoping to have a year to potentially make the playoffs, I think, based off last year. They have a fun player for his full season, Ella De Cruz. Dude can fly. He's fun to watch. They just fired their manager like 3 days ago, so
They couldn't have waited till the end of the season.
yeah, it is what it is on that.
It's not a good look.
No, after giving him an extension after last season, I think, or 2 years.
So they're pulling out the pocket.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that rounds out the Central, and we'll go to the East. Philly locked in the division. They won that. As we were discussing earlier, Atlanta and the Mets are in the spots to be in the last 2 and 3rd spot for the wild card. They're playing each other today.
Well, at least they're making it fun for
Yes.
us. If you're a baseball fan on the last day of the season, potentially an extra day.
So they'll battling it out, and like I said, we'll circle back around to their roster here and when we get to the playoffs with them. And then the Nationals, they have some young guys that they acquired. in a trade when the Padres had traded for Soto. They sent a bunch of their young prospects. A lot of them made their first appearance up this year. Um, some have highly good potential to be core players for the Nationals. One of them they had to send down due to personal reasons, off-field issues. They didn't elaborate, but they said you need to step away from the team right now.
Go take care of your business. Yep. Yeah.
And then Miami Marlins. Uh,
Which I don't know. Miami's going to be down for a few years, but then they're going to get this amazing roster probably.
Probably. We'll see. I know it's kind of been up and down with them, and then their manager just informed that he's like, I'm not going to be back as y'all's manager next year, and he cited that he had personal reasons, so he didn't even manage the last 2 games of the season. That skipped Schumacher.
Is Derek Jeter still a owner?
Yeah, I think he's still.
Or did he sell his shares?
As far as I know, he's still part owner of the Marlins. So,
Okay.
the joke.
Well, if Derek Jeter's involved, which, i.e., to me, is the best shortstop of all time, I
When
hope
he
things
got
happen.
involved to be part owner, I always joked with everyone. I was like, "Oh, great! Now you have a second minor league team for the Yankees because anyone that's going to be good, they're just going to trade to the Yankees."
Well, that's third, sir. Tampa Bay, probably.
So,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Tampa fans.
So that rounds out the regular season. Maybe not as much in depth as stat wise, but we'll tackle that later. That's just a quick rundown of how the season went. So here we are. We're starting on Tuesday. Playoffs start. It's going to be a fun month. That's what I love about baseball playoffs. It starts within a month. Not necessarily what I'm getting by month. It's within 30 days essentially of starting. So.
Yeah. Oh,
So when
yeah.
they say October ball, it starts on October 1st, and I know they have a flex schedule now, depending on if teams wrap up early. But I've always liked baseball because it was done within a month of starting of the playoffs. It didn't go 2 months. Football's you play once a week. I get that, but like basketball, it's a 2-month playoff system. Like I just
basketball's ridiculous.
I know hockey's
in my
long
opinion.
too,
But they're in arenas.
Yes.
With baseball, you got to look at the teams up north.
I get that.
You really can't drag it
I
out.
realize you can't
it gets
go
too
into
cold up there.
December, January. I get it makes sense, but it's just fun because once it starts, it's boom, 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 boom. It's rapid fire. We're going.
I agree.
It's fun to watch. And now that this is the second year, I believe, with the expanded playoffs, because for those that didn't know, the way the playoffs used to be was 4 teams made it. You had your divisional winners and 1 wild card team that made it in. Then they decided, well, let's do 2 wild card teams, and those 2 play a 1-game series, and then whoever wins that is the official wild card winner, and then they go to the divisional round and play there. But now they do 6 teams, your 3 divisional winners, and 3 wild card spots. And so the top 2 teams with the best record that won the division, so in this case the Yankees and Cleveland Guardians,
The
in the American League.
And then the National League, it's the Dodgers
And Phillies,
Philly?
yes.
Yeah.
So with so Yankees and Cleveland get the first round bye, so they don't start till the divisional round. So the Astros are playing in the wild card round. So the wild card round is best 2 out of 3, and the better team, since the Astros have won their division, they get the home field advantage for all 3 games.
Yeah.
So if they go to 3 games, all 3 games will be played in Houston, and so they will be there, and then
They're going to be
they'll be hosting at least as the home or for the wild card round. So with the playoffs in place, like we were talking about, so the Astros touch base, I felt like I'm happy for them, and it was a grind this season for them, and it was frustrating at times. They scratched, they clawed, they fought, they did what they had to do to win, and they're back in the playoffs. And anything can happen in the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. You get hot. You look at the Rangers last year. They got out as a wild card team, got hot, and they ran with it. And same with the Diamondbacks last year. With Houston going in, I do have concerns. Pitching's always a concern. Batting, concern is Alvarez. He has a sprained knee that he got when they had their last home series earlier in the week. So hopefully it's ready to go for the wild card round. So it's uh, Altuve, he's ready to go. Um, Bregman, he's been one of the best third basemen this season. He started off slow, like he had been the previous year, but he turned it around, and he's been one of the best third basemen in the league. So you have him. Jordan, uh, obviously had a great season. Like I said, if his knee's up and ready to go, then hopefully,
Little puppy.
yeah, little Poppy. There you go.
Now let me say this. Let me jump in about the Astros.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand you have concerns, and you should, but look, at the end of the day, they have the cornerstones of their organization, and they have experience, and they have guys that have
Yep.
been there, and the leaders of their team are primarily the ones that have been there, which they're gonna bring that down to a lot of the younger guys. So in terms of nerves or things like that in the playoffs, I actually think they're going to be just fine. And I hate to say this, being a Yankee fan, but over the last since 2015, that stadium, when that roof is closed,
It's loud.
it is loud.
Yes, very loud.
It is loud, and again, the only place you might think they might be light might be with their manager because it's his first year, first or second.
It's his first year,
It's his
but
first
he's
year,
been on the staff.
Yeah, he it's not like he's he's not a stranger in the building.
Correct.
You know
He
what I
was
mean?
there with Hinch when Hinch he came on. I was looking. Joe came on in 2018, I think, maybe 19, on Hinch's staff. So
Yeah, so I mean, look, the Astros are not going to be an easy out at all.
no,
uh,
and that's what they are a veteran team when it comes to playoff experience because a lot of the guys that are the main starters for batting wise have been in the playoffs, like I said, since 27.
Now, we'll say this, though. If you look at the Astros' home record and away record, their away record is pretty damn good.
Yeah, and it's that's what's infuriating with my Astros is like how do you play so well on the road, but when you come home you'd forget how to hit and don't say the batter eye. Well, the opposing team can hit, so don't. It's just one of those. It's baseball. Baseball's a funny sport.
I.e., Houston fans, show up to the games, support
Be
your
loud,
team,
be there.
be loud, be crazy, have a good time, but do it respectfully,
So,
of course.
like I said, they're a veteran team. There's no jitters as like us, our first time being in the playoffs as a young team. Like I said, because everyone that's at least starting wise has experience playing in the playoffs. Like I said, from out
You're gonna get whom? You're gonna get or who you gonna play?
Kansas
first?
City is going to be who the Astros host.
And they're scrappy.
They are scrappy, like I said.
And they're coming in with nothing to lose. We're Kansas City.
Absolutely.
We're quote unquote a small market. And they're playing with house money because I guarantee you when you look at that AL Central, they probably didn't even think they'd get here. So they are a dangerous
They are.
team to play. But at the end of the day, I think Houston's experience, along with the talent of the players that they have, it's probably gonna, it's gonna come through. I think.
Yeah. So like I said, yeah. So Houston gets Kansas City in the wild card round. Best 2 out of 3. They start on Tuesday. Everyone's talking about, well, does Verlander make it? The roster, I probably gonna say. I'm only going to say no, only because if he started on Saturday and they start on Tuesday, if they're in his 5-day rest, he might be ready for game 2 or 3. So that bit he makes it. They want him to be able to clinch that game 3 as a veteran, but he has not really done as well since he's come back off the injured list with his neck injury.
I bet it's going to be more of a day-to-day. If the Astros jump out and win 2,
Well, you reset the
maybe
line.
they're going to hold back and say, let's wait till the.
Well, that's the thing. You reset the lineup for each playoff round. It's not you don't set whether the roster's set for the wild card is not the full roster set for the next round and the next round after that. You reset for each series.
Sure.
So it's one of those like I can see them not putting Verlander on there based off okay he just threw Saturday, he wouldn't be theoretically ready till today Sunday, Tuesday, Monday. It's 2 days, 3 days on Tuesday, 4 day on Wednesday. So yeah, if his next schedule would be to pitch would be Game 3 deciding factor if that maybe 4. So but
And if they have a 2-0 lead, well,
if they want.
if they have a 2-0 lead, they
win,
would.
yes.
Yeah, never mind.
So, but they have Hunter Brown who's been pitching well. They have Cucci who's been pitching well. Even Framber has pitched well. So it's one of those like they could get by,
They could potentially save him for Game 1 of the division.
which
you know,
is what they
which
might be
is
looking
ideal.
at. Is that ideal? Yes. As far as the bullpen, Josh Hader was one of the top closers this season in save situations. Any other situation, he was dog doo doo. No, so acquiring him I was happy they got him. We've always lacked a solid left-handed arm in the bullpen. So yeah, it was a hefty price to pay for $95 million for 5 years. But hey, he's proven himself. I'm okay with it.
Hey, Houston pulled out the checkbook.
Yeah,
How about
everyone's knocking Jim Crane on that one. That he's not signing players, giving him. Well,
that? Hey, you know what? He finally
he did it.
finally
Hey,
did it, you know.
he's got to open his checkbook here when we talk about the actual official offseason. You know, do they give Bregman money? But that's a different time to talk.
Sure.
So yeah, Astros will host. They win. They go on to face Cleveland. Before we get to the divisional round, we will look at the other wild card series. Is going to be Baltimore, and they are going to be facing Detroit Tigers.
That's an interesting.
Is an interesting one because Detroit
has caught fire, my friends. I mean, they just have. And you have Baltimore that's been a solid team all year. And they've been a thorn at our side, meaning a Yankee fan, you know, but you know, there's always that saying, you know, playing your best at the time nearing the playoffs is usually the team that you don't want to screw with, and
clicking.
that seems to be
clicking.
Detroit.
Yeah, for the month of September, they're 17-7. Look,
You're
yeah.
kidding. Wow.
17-7.
Wow,
so,
they're coming after people.
yeah, so they turned it on this last month, like I was saying. So that's gonna be a fun series. To be honest, I couldn't determine or something. I couldn't just as well as Detroit guy. I have been following who's been their star player. I know they have a couple good players coming up, or have come up. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do. With that, I'm going to take a quick break real quick. Just bear with us. Don't go any. And we're back. So talking about Detroit, unfortunately, like I said, I'm happy they're doing well. But like I said, they have Hinch, great manager. He did well with the Astros, rebuilding them, getting them back up. Now Detroit, I know a couple guys you can say, oh, this player, oh yeah, he's with Detroit. They're gonna be a fun team to watch. Take on Baltimore. Yes, looking at the paper-wise, stat-wise, like Baltimore lineup-wise is probably better than Detroit, but when a team catches fire and is playing well, it's so.
Yeah, Baltimore's probably not happy about this. You know.
So, so with that, I guess I project that the Astros win their wild card round, and I think Baltimore gets past Detroit as well, and so they get out of the wild card this year, unlike last year when they lost to the Rangers. So, with that, we will move into the divisional round of the AL still. So now we have Cleveland hosting the Astros.
The Indians.
Guardians, Indians, who cares? They are hosting the Astros. So they Cleveland gets the home field advantage because they have the better record. So this now goes to a best 3 out of 5 series. Um, Again, if the Astros, yeah, I know it's playoff. Everyone's playing their best ball. Um, Astros do match up well. I mean, Guardians, Indians, however,
Who's the healthier team?
it's a good question. Well, Astros have everyone back, except, but I say everyone. Depending on how Jordan bounces back here with his knee injury, Astros have everyone, as healthy as they can be. No one's 100% healthy after 162 games,
Of
and
course.
so I with that. The only player that the Astros don't have is Chas McCormick, but he's been up and down all season with injuries as well. And then they picked up Hayward from the Dodgers when they DF'd him, which was a great pickup.
So they've learned
Yeah,
how
they
to
they
live.
they've been able to
Yeah,
adjust,
yeah.
and like I said, I love Chaz. He was great in the 2022 postseason.
Cleveland's a
Cleveland's
fairly young
a
team.
very young team. They always have good pitching, but they don't have Shane Bieber this year because he had Tommy John surgery. That was their ace pitcher last year, and so, but they have one of the best closers right now too. So I think closer wise, they match up there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you got to get to the close.
Yes,
You know what I mean? And you know, uh, Houston with the experience, they're not going to be worried about going on the road and going to Cleveland and going up north. It's not going to be a big deal for them. And again, as I alluded to a little while ago, they have one of the best road records in all
yeah.
of MLB. So
As far as like going Cleveland, they match up in the aspect. Cleveland had the 20. They ranked 20th in team MLB average, so they're not. So,
yeah, they're not a
but
juggernaut
as
by
far
any
as
stretch.
pitching, they are the 4th ranked team overall with as a team 3.61 ERA. But Houston is number 6 with the 3.74. So,
All right, so Houston's basically right there
so
with
I
them.
think uh,
But Houston is where batting average?
number 2.
They were
Yeah,
number two. Okay, number two and number six.
in pit.
You can't
No, so
argue that, and
and
experience.
experience absolutely.
You know,
When I was going back to the Astros frustrating me this year, it's just they had the team to do well, and they have done that. But it just feels like it's been such a roller coaster ride. Like they get going, they win 5 games in a row, and then they lose 3 in a row. It's just like, what are y'all doing here? So it's just kind of one of those, just like, what is going on? But if they can keep it put together, like you said, they have the experience, they can win.
I mean, since the All Star break, the reality is the Houston Astros are one of the
Yes.
better teams in baseball.
My
We all know
only
that.
concern for them in the postseason was last postseason is, as anyone is, just I felt like the starting pitching, they had good outings throughout, like they've done, but like I just felt like our bullpen has been taxed most of the season, and going into the playoffs, most teams always rely on bullpen, just how the nature of baseball has transitioned to. If you're pitching and go 5 innings, we're going to bullpen, and this is how we're going things. I just feel like a lot of arms have been taxed again, in heavy crucial situation too. So,
Yeah, these athletes are built
Absolutely.
for this. It's what they train. It's what they train for. That's why they have their personal dietitians and everything they do in the off season. I mean, and look, Cleveland fans are about to be mad at me for saying this, but I mean, come on, guys, hey, it's Cleveland. I mean, it's Cleveland. And look, they do have a good young team, but they're about to go play the Houston Astros. And if we're gonna look at this spade for a spade, since the All Star break, the Houston Astros are one of the better teams in baseball. I mean, that's just the reality. And then when you throw in their experience and you look at their record on the road, they're not going to be phased by going up to Cleveland, and it's going to be loud in there, and the fans over there are very passionate, and they're great fans, by the way. They're great fans. But, look, the only area that I might find the Astros a little bit light would probably just be in the managerial position, when you go from Hinch to
Yeah.
Dusty Baker, a legend, my gosh, so yeah, they might be a little light there, but make no mistake, they know exactly what they're doing, and they have their pillars, they have their guys, you know, uh, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But if I'm a Houston fan, I'm positive.
Yeah, that's a good point. Being Joe, it's about his first season as manager, but being with Dusty the past 4 years under with him and with Hinch, so he has playoff experience as a assistant coach on the staff, but his first season being the actual manager of a team. So uh, again, this is all based off paper wise. Looking at it, if Astros play the ball like they know how to, they win the divisional round. I think they win in 4 games. They don't sweep Cleveland, but I do think they win to go to the ALCS for the 8th straight time, I believe.
You don't need to remind me of that
So
again,
I
Mark. Yes, yeah.
for those they
Maybe the modern day Golden State Warriors of baseball
but
these days. It
you know
seems
people
like
and what I mean, you're not going to win the World Series every year. It is also an awesome, like to say you've been to the ALCS would be their because they made the ALCS every year since 2017. So to go again, that would be a great feat. From there, this is where we decide. George DeGreek here with your team being the Yankees. Do more than likely, like I said, I think I didn't get your thought or opinion. Do you think Baltimore beats Detroit?
that's gonna be a tough one. I really don't
Okay.
know right now. But look, they have to come to the Bronx. You know, and as even Houston fans know, that's a tough place to win. Our fans are passionate, our fans are crazy, they're loud, and that's the way we like them. And again, we have Aaron
Yeah.
Judge, and we have Juan Soto. I mean, if you look at the MVP votings right now, Juan Soto is number three. You know, so two of the top three vote getters for the MVP are in our lineup.
So, like I said, I think Baltimore wins. Do Yankees face Baltimore, in your opinion, or Detroit?
I'll probably go with
Okay.
Baltimore, and I'm saying that very cautiously because right now, again, you don't want to mess with a team that's so red hot, and the reality is Detroit really is. But I think Baltimore, with what they did last year and what they did do this year with the pennant race they had with us, uh, you know, they're tested. Baltimore's tested. I think they get out of Detroit, or not get out of the city of Detroit, but they get out of that series. Um, and for us, it's going to be an AL East matchup in the divisional round. And the reality is, we're gonna have a dogfight on our hand, and it's probably gonna go every bit of 5 games. Because Baltimore has no problem coming into Yankee Land and winning a game. But at the same time, our Yankees, again, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto. I really like this Chisholm kid. We have Cole. We have
Yeah.
some horses. And the horses are going to have to pull us through. They have to pull us through. And look, let's not overlook manager Aaron Boone. He's kind of playing, or he's coaching for
Yeah.
his job right now because, yeah, we won the division after missing the playoffs a year ago, but that's not the standard of the Yankees. So Aaron
Okay.
Boone knows he has to keep going.
All right. So, uh, Yankees face Baltimore. You say 5 games. Yankees pull it off. as you and I were joking with each other, or mess with me, this time you're right. Instead of everything has to go through Houston, everything has to go through New York this time around. Yankees would have home field advantage. Uh, and so as they would host the Astros, best, and then this is where the series goes to best 4 out of 7. And to be honest, if we put both teams like looking at it side by side, it is fairly. In my opinion, Yankees have Judge and Soto who have a lot of power, but if you're looking at the whole top to bottom, Astros, to me, opinion have a better balanced lineup for the most part. Not by a lot, but I feel like it's slightly better balanced just with uh, Altuve, Bregman, Jordan, Tucker back now from his shin injury. Um, but and then Yanier Diaz as well. But we don't, as far as like first baseman, Singleton has done good for the season. Just respectfully, just as because having Jose Abreu, which was I was not happy with that signing not this past season, but season before getting him because I knew he was on his decline and it showed. And so he's out of the picture. Singleton has done great filling in for the season, but his lack of playoff experience and high pressure situation, which he has come through the regular season, but regular season high pressure situation and playoff high pressure are two different things. Like it's just, in my opinion, two different animals. But if that were to be the case, that's the series. It'd be a fun, exciting, loud, just fans, just heckling each other, and in a good way. Like there's, messing with people and just having because I went to the 2019 Astros Yankees playoff game in New York, and that was fun being there. I had a great time. So.
We're a tough crowd.
Yeah.
We're a tough crowd
So
sometimes.
to answer that, maybe, and I'm not trying to say this. And again, this is all my opinion and your opinion, George. But if the Yankees can do what they have been doing this last month and playing well, like how they started off with, they could easily be in the World Series. And as far as the Astros, like I said, it's nothing against that. I always want your. There's no doubt you always want your team to win it all every year. There's no doubt about that. But realistically, I just don't. I think the Astros' arms fall off and they just aren't able to do what it needs in the end to get back to the World Series. So Yankees, I feel like are in the World Series, and so I'm sure. Would you say your Yankees are in the World Series, George, or are you going the other way?
Look, I love my boys. You know, it's a good group. But look, let's make no mistake. Yes, I am picking them to get through. They're gonna have to fight for it, though. I mean, look, anyone that does anything and has a passion for their craft, they're just not gonna give it to you. And the Astros aren't just gonna hand this to the New York Yankees. And let me tell you another thing about the Astros is since 2015, no team in the playoffs as long as I could remember in my lifetime has ever owned us the way the Astros have. So with the Yankees,
This is going
I
back
think
to
there's
15, the wild card game with Keuchel, and
yeah,
the
Dallas
Astros going
Keuchel, yeah.
to New York to win that wild card game.
Yeah, and they won that game, and they won it quite easily, and that's the thing. Like we've had our battles with the Red Sox, and we've had our battles with other teams, and but at least they were kind of, it went back and forth a little bit, With Houston, it hasn't. You know, they've always gotten us, and you know, number one, I think manager Aaron Boone's job is on the line, and I know the players really went to bat for him this year to keep his job. So there's that. You know, Now Aaron Judge finally has some great help with Juan Soto, and I think what Juan Soto's done is helped open up the lineup in so many other avenues. And then we add a kid like Chisholm, and we finally have some arms. Um, but we will have to battle. That's just the reality. We will, and if we play Houston, it's probably going to be a great loud series. There's going to be some calls that we're all yelling at the refs or the
Umps, yeah.
officials. Like, hey, the umps. Like, hey, you didn't get
Right.
this, or
Especially, real quick on the ump. It's not so much the bang bang plays at the bases because that's a lot of that's reviewed now. It's really going to come down to the crucial situation of strike zones and just how you talking about we need a ump, robo ump strike zone, and that being a deciding factor potentially. And it's just
one question I asked you, Mark, earlier when we were talking about, I think, some of the teams in the NL, I think, when I asked you, like,
Yeah.
who's the healthiest? And the reality is this, is who's the healthiest here? If the Yankees and the Astros are healthy-ish, so to speak, because no one's healthy
Yeah.
this time of year,
okay.
it's going to come down to maybe home field. The reality is this: Houston has a great road record,
Yeah.
but the Yankees do have a great home record, and the Yankees' run differential on the season trumps the Houston Astros. So when they win, they win soundly. So we'll see what happens. I mean, look, if it comes to this, it's gonna
Yeah.
be
So the
great.
Yankees were second best in run differential.
Yeah, behind the Dodgers.
Yes, 145 to Dodgers 155, and the Astros were 91. Um, So, yeah, it's gonna be a fun series if both teams get to the ALCS and face each other. Anything can happen. It's baseball. That's how it goes. So, hypothetically saying Yankees on the World Series, we'll move over to NL real quick and knock that out. So Dodgers have the number one spot on the NL side and best record overall. So
They have
they have
Shohei.
Shohei. They have
a
Freeman.
no-brainer.
They have Mookie Betts. They have a solid hitting lineup for the first.
And the best home record in MLB.
But they have a good first top five lineup. After that, it kind of trickles off for me. I feel like they're good. I'm not taking anything away, but a lot of their ace pitching is hurt this season too, and so I know they got some arms back, but I think they're just like anyone who is the most healthy and who's hot. Obviously, it kind of rolls, but I think just their potential lack of pitching could be a factor, and for some reason they always falter in the playoffs. They won their
They won the COVID
which
year.
their what do they call it, the I forgot.
Don't get me started on that. I wasn't happy
the
about
joke
that.
was they're I forgot what basically the COVID year. You played 60 games, and then they win. And I know it's always like, well, that shows their 2017 one's not legit because of the cheating scandal. Okay, you can argue that, but in the end, the Astros still played 162 games. If you want to correct me if I'm wrong on this, when they did look into the cheating scandal, they did not find anything in the postseason. So with that, you have to play ball in the end, and so Astros have 2 World Series rings and legitimate full seasons. Dodgers, I know they lost to Astros in 2017. Like I said, they said there was no proofs of sign stealing during that World Series at all. So with the Dodgers, directly with the past with their roster and how they done, in winning the 2020, which was the COVID year, which 60 games in baseball is not enough to determine how a team actually uh, pans out. So, and in the past several years, they faltered in the playoffs. They lost to the Diamondbacks last year in the divisional round, I believe, or I can't remember divisional or the NLCS. I can't remember exactly.
But Mark, the reality is this, though. I mean, the Dodgers have
Oh,
spent a
oh,
lot
well,
of money, and they went and got
Shohei and the other Japan pitcher, so they spent $1 billion
a lot of money,
on two players.
a lot of money.
A billion,
and,
1 billion people.
and who did they have before? Crenshaw. Last time I checked, pretty damn good. You know what I mean? Like, he's up there.
But yeah, I'm not. The Dodgers are good, but just playoff baseballs.
But what's going on with them in the playoffs? It's like are the Dodgers, and again, Cleveland fans or Milwaukee fans or other fans are going to be mad at me when I say this, but it's like, hey, when you guys get into the playoffs, what do you actually do?
This might
something to think
upset
about.
a few people on hot take. They can say that about the Yankees, but my honest opinion is, put it this way, Yankees.
Thank you for saying
The Yankees' kryptonite have been the Astros in the playoffs. The Yankees have gotten to the ALCS a couple of times, losing the Astros. I know they didn't make playoffs last year, but what I'm about to say is,
more than a couple.
you spend a ton of money on a team to hopefully win, right? And then you lose in the first round. Who does that remind you of? The Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. Yeah,
That's what I'm getting at is the Dodgers remind me a lot of the Cowboys in the aspect of this is our year, we're going to win it. And
let's go spend a ton
you
of money
fumble
to win 12
in the
games
first
and
round of the playoffs. So that's what I'm.
You didn't get better. You got more expensive.
And so, and you're left scratching your head like, what do we do now? Well,
Hey, time out. Really quick though. Let's make no mistake. Do I think Aaron Judge is the best player in MLB? I do.
Well, I mean,
Shohei Ohtani has had an amazing
NL
year.
MVP easily. 50-50. I mean, I don't know.
50-50.
He only batted. I get that, but what he did, I mean,
As a DH, okay, let's just be clear. But what he's done is remarkable. It deserves respect. It deserves recognition. And I'm good for him. And good for his family because I think he ultimately wanted to be in LA. And he got the deal he wanted. And he ended up being a Dodger.
Yeah, he got the deal he wanted. The Dodgers only, I mean, yeah, he's going to get his $700 million, but 48 of, or however much of it is all going to be back paid because he only gets $2 million from the Dodgers each year for the next 10 years, or 12 years, whatever it is, because of all his endorsements and stuff. So in the end, with his endorsements and his $2 million from the Dodgers, he makes lowest end is $50 million a season. So when he finally leaves the Dodgers after his contract's up on his back pay, he can live in the state of Texas or Arizona or wherever they don't have the state income taxes and collect all that without the tax money. So smart on his part on that.
He's going to be just fine.
So going the Dodgers, like I said, they get a bye the first round. So and then the Phillies also get a bye because they have the second best record.
Now again, guys, Dodgers had the highest run differential, and the Dodgers did have the best home record in MLB this year. So home cooking for them
52-29 at home.
Yeah, good stuff.
Followed by false.
What?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Sure. I thought I read 55.
I'm looking right now. Unless ESPN's wrong, which they can be, as any sports website.
They're probably more correct than I am. I'm having beers.
You and I both. Philly, 54-27. So.
What are the
52 and
Dodgers?
29.
Okay, and what's the away record? I think Philly has a better
False.
away record.
Dodgers 45-35. Philly 40-40. So yeah.
So again, Dodgers at home is a big deal.
Yeah. So
It's a big
so
deal.
Philly's number 2 spot by. So Milwaukee number 3. They, as we're discussing earlier, it's still a toss up. Who,
I like the Brewers, man. I
so
like
Brewers
the Brewers.
could be potentially hosting 3 teams: Atlanta, New York Mets, or Arizona Diamondbacks.
That sucks for the Brewers.
Arizona's, I know they made the World Series last year, and they're a scrappy team still. Good for them to not bow out like the Rangers did. Where they
Experience.
just
Yep.
didn't. I mean, I know the Rangers tried this year. I'm not saying they were a bad team, but the fact that they're still in it to make a wild card spot, where
They had a hangover.
whatever. So, yeah, I can't say who the Brewers are going to play. I do feel like, depending on who the Brewers get, will alter. If somehow they do get the Diamondbacks, I think they do beat the Diamondbacks and go to the divisional round. But if they do get one or the other 2 teams, Atlanta or New York,
I think if the Brewers get the Braves, the Brewers might be a little screwed.
well, the Braves are banged up
but-
though.
but
they,
I think-
they don't have their third baseman. He's gone. They don't have Acuna as well. He's out. So there's yeah,
Oh,
I
he's
think
out.
so. There's
Okay.
several key players for the Braves that are out due to injury, batting wise. I think pitching wise, they have
And the Mets are going to be tired. I'm going
Yeah.
with the Brew Crew. I think the Brew Crew is
the
in.
Brew Crew goes to the divisional round. That will leave San Diego playing, like I said, either one of the other Atlanta, whatever. I do think San Diego gets out of the wild card round 2, and with that, the Dodgers would get San Diego, and Philly would get Milwaukee. And I really do hope San Diego takes care of the Dodgers, just to see them just bow out again in the first round or second round.
You know what? When you just read what could possibly happen with San Diego and Philly. Look out home
Yeah.
teams. I think the Brewers could beat the Phillies. I do. They just recently beat them. I think they got them in a series. And I know the playoffs are different. I do
In
know.
the end,
but
yeah, what I'm getting at in the end, Phillies do have a well-rounded put team together still. Great pitching. I know Dodgers can hit. If the Phillies can play good ball like they have been most of the season, I can see them in the World Series this year against the Yankees. That's my opinion. Yankees, Phillies, and the Phillies win in 6 games.
I'm gonna go chalk. Unfortunately, and I normally don't. I really think the San Diego Padres might have something to say about things. But the reality is, the Dodgers and the Yankees run differentials throughout this regular season have been just far and beyond. Better than everyone else's. Phillies are right there, ish. But out of all the playoff teams, it's Dodgers number 1, Yankees number 2, and how fun would it be to have a Yankees Dodgers World Series, both coasts, New York,
Yeah,
LA,
that'd be rowdy,
for
but
all
yeah.
for all the marbles,
Yes, I mean that would be
you know-
fun, and I know that's what viewership wise, like TV, they want the market teams in there for viewership.
It's going to help MLB baseball.
No, that would be a fun series for sure, and everyone all eyes on Ohtani because he is the face of MLB, like just in general. So
And so is Aaron Judge.
he is, but everyone, not that Judge get right. I'm not saying, but just Ohtani. Everyone just Ohtani this, Ohtani that, and so Uh, whether he bet on baseball, that's they wrapped it up fairly quickly, which is kind of odd in my opinion. They, conspiracy is like, well, his interpreter, did all that without him knowing, maybe, but that's it is what it is. I'm not going to Tani guy. I mean, that didn't change the way how he plays. He wasn't like doing steroids or anything like that, and so Tani's just a great ball player, hands down. So
I'm gonna go chalk. I'm gonna go Yankees Dodgers World Series, and I'm gonna go with the MVP of the AL with Aaron Judge with his backup MVP and Soto. Uh, and Cole is desperately looking for a ring on his own, and Aaron Boone needs to save his job. Yeah, I'm going Yankees in 6.
okay, yeah. Well, Cole's been in the World Series before
for the
with
World
the Astros
Series.
in 2019. And I know he desperately wants a ring. He came very close, and access for Boone is, I think, a World Series win to keep his job. I know it's a stick. Like, if he does well in the whole playoffs and doesn't win, does he keep his job? I know it's kind of a tough one to say. But yeah, and then Cole, if let's say he is the MVP in the playoffs, he can opt out this year, and I think he is still going to opt out this year and redo his contract again to get more money per year.
Well, if he does well in the playoffs and he gets as far as we think he can get, I mean, it'll be probably deserved, and the Yankees will gladly offer it.
So, yeah, no doubt about that. So that wraps up the like the regular season recap briefly. Because we didn't go into stats, all that stuff, but just in general, and then what we predict how the playoffs are going to go. With that, like I said, we'll touch base here in about a month or so, a little after, do that in general for what to come for off-season baseball and in due time. If you have questions or if you like spitting anything at us, please feel free to do so. Send an email to @theglasspodcast@gmail.com, and that's AT, not the @ symbol, just AT, theglasspodcast@gmail.com. George, the Greek, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to doing
Thank
this
you.
many more times with you.
Hey, college
Yes,
football soon,
we'll
huh?
touch base on college football and just general.
Go Irish.
Well, you won't be happy with me with one of the recordings I did a couple weeks ago. I didn't bash them by any means. I just clearly stated that they didn't come out to play.
Agreed.
That was when they lost to Northern Illinois. So, but yes, look forward to many more, like I said, college football, baseball talk, whatever talk. Like I said, people, we try to cover it all just for fun. Nothing's supposed to be serious about this. It's all fun and enjoyment. Again, feel free to send anything to @theglasspodcast@gmail.com. Like I said, I'm your host, Mark. Pleasure with George the Greek here. And as always, we be sipping. Until next time.
Nice. Thank you guys.